All right, we're live
Hey.
with the 23rd episode of GuardianCast, and I'm back from GuardianCon, guys. So,
Back from
Yeah.
GuardianCon, episode number 23. What could be better?
uh, yeah, I don't 23. Have you ever seen the movie The Number 23 with Jim Carrey?
Yes.
No.
No, yeah,
I've never heard of that
Yes.
movie.
it's like an oddly serious movie for him, and he
Yeah.
obsesses about the number 23. Like everything adds up to 23. He like writes a book about it, and then
What
like,
actually is based on actual facts, like all the numbers that he uses on there, but it's like he
You-
goes through
yeah.
like that rabbit hole conspiracy theory
Right.
nonsense.
and like
Okay.
you can make that math happen with like almost any number, but
Yeah.
Because that's how math works.
right, yeah.
oh
So, but he
my god.
ruins his whole life because of the number 23.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the moral of the story. This is gonna ruin our whole life, guys. If you were
I love
just
it.
coming in.
Have you jumped down the rabbit hole with number 23 yet? If not, no, everything comes
You
back to
probably
this.
shouldn't.
This is the quintessential podcast
Yeah.
that you're going to see what GuardianCast is all about, and then you're going to realize that the planes in 9/11 all have something to do with the number 23. I thought
Let's
that's
get
what it was,
into
right?
that.
Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of anyway. I won't
Listen,
go there.
and
But
like
if you
the
believe in
base
it,
of the towers, there was like molten, right? Like molten steel, and the only way that the steel could have gotten that hot was if there were. Okay.
Oh my god.
jet fuel
If there
doesn't
were
melt steel
explosives
beams,
at
right?
the base.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Jet
George
fuel doesn't melt
Bush.
steel beams, I heard.
We should,
That's the way I
we should
heard it.
probably start the podcast
yeah.
over.
So I was at GuardianCon last week, and it was amazing, guys. I got to meet like a lot of really awesome people, content creators, close friends of mine. I had a really great time. I got to be on Fireteam Chat asking questions. I got to be on DCP
Awesome.
asking questions. I got to go to the pub and get drunk with all the DCP guys. That was really cool. And me, Lenny, and Godin pretty much hung out the whole time and just goofed around, which was pretty awesome.
That's badass.
There was one thing, though, that did kind of, like, irk me a bit. I didn't get to play
Yeah?
Gambit. Yeah, I didn't get to play Gambit.
No,
Oh, you
damn it. I
didn't
gotta
even tell
turn
me
off
that.
Yeah.
You didn't even complain about that once.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
interesting.
So on Friday we got there a little bit late, and I walked over there, and it was a 5-hour line for Gambit, and so we said, "Oh, we're back tomorrow. We'll get here right at the opening, and then it'll be less of a wait. Not too bad." So we got there an hour before the doors opened for general admission. We were at the very front of the line, waiting for them to say, like, "Go ahead in." And I'm standing at the steps, like the very front. There's literally no one standing in front of me. And at 11 a.m., they opened the doors, and I sprinted to the Gambit line. And then I get in line, and they're like, "Sorry, the line's already at 7 hours. You're not in line anymore." So I didn't get to play at all. They, like, literally, there was nothing I could do unless I would have bought VIP, which was sold out before they said Gambit was going to be there. So feels
But was
bad,
it-
man.
Wasn't GuardianCon supposed to last 23 hours that day? I think 7 hours is.
If only I could have stood in line for 23 hours. I mean,
Yeah.
when he first said it was a 7-hour wait, before he told me I couldn't stand in line, I was thinking, man, how am I going to make it 7 hours without getting out of line to use the bathroom? And how are all these people going to do that? But luckily, I didn't have to contemplate that very long because he just kicked me out. So good times. So then,
so you walked around, you stood behind him, you were like, okay, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna sneak past this line here so
Yeah.
I can wait. my
so I
7
could wait
hours.
for 7 hours, yeah. But so then I went to the guy with
That's-
the Gambit codes, and I was like, "Hey, man, listen, I'm really bummed out. I got here really early. I didn't get to wait in line for Gambit. I really wanted an emblem code. Is there any way I could get one of those at least as a consolation for not getting to play?" And he was like, "No, I can't give these out to anybody. They don't even let me take these home." So basically, Bungie didn't do anything for me. Thanks, guys.
Wait.
Good times.
Wait.
Both of those guys are Bungie employees, right?
Yes, both of them were
Are
Bungie
you telling
employees.
me that you talked to somebody from Bungie and they were unhelpful?
Yep. Yeah,
Are
pretty
you
much.
telling me that there was maybe a disconnect between them and the way
Yeah.
their present community was feeling,
right.
even though they were in the same room?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the communication was not
I
great.
don't buy it.
Yeah.
I don't buy it.
Yeah, I don't. There's not
Yeah.
like a history of like
Yeah.
of poor communication and
Yep.
awareness. That's really
So on the positive note, they did bring the game on PC. So the PC version was there for the first time.
that's nice.
As opposed to E3 where it was PS4s. So it would have been nice to play that. I was really excited.
Having not gone to GuardianCon and missed it, which I won't be doing next year, I'm definitely going. But
Sweet.
Um,
Huffy, are you going to commit to it? Not that I believe you anyway.
Just looking
Yeah,
at
you
you guys who did go, you know, what I could glean from you guys is that they just didn't expect that most of the people who came there for Destiny and for, you know.
Yeah, why would people go to GuardianCon because they like Destiny?
And they just didn't bring enough. They just didn't bring enough like monitors and PCs that were running it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was totally the space for it too. It's a shame. There was a lot of spare space. But yeah, I mean that was a real bummer because then it like threw off the whole day. Because like also at the opening, Goth was having his podcast and Ninja was doing a meet and greet. So I figured like, oh, Ninja's doing the meet and greet, I'll get to play Gambit because people are gonna want to go meet Ninja, you know. But that wasn't the case. So then when I couldn't play Gambit, I was like, well, let's go watch Goth's podcast, and they were like, it's already full. So for like the first like 4 hours of that day, we basically got to do nothing except watch other people standing in line.
I mean, you got to watch people meet Ninja, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's like once removed from Ninja.
But
it's like going to like New York City Comic Con or like San Diego Comic Con and like seeing the lines of people that are like looking at the celebrities and taking a picture from like about a mile away.
Yeah.
So
like you got to like shake the hand of someone that gave Jessica Negri a hug.
So Fire Team Chat and DCP, those were great experiences. I was all the way at the front of Fire Team Chat while that was being filmed, and if you go back and watch last week's episode, you'll see me on there. They were ranking the raids in order of how they feel that the community values them as favorites. And you would be happy about this, Exo. One of the things they brought up was like, they said Eater of Worlds they had ranked higher than Leviathan, and you know they emphasized like Argos, and they said, oh, Argos is like a really cool fight, blah blah blah. So I went up there and I said, you know, Argos is cool and all, but the jumping puzzle at the beginning of that raid at least makes it like close to the worst raid ever. So
it's true. Argos is an incredible fight, but
yeah,
the getting to him is a pain.
Right.
So much of a pain.
And it's
not worth it.
It's a shame because like if you go back to King's Fall, like there was a jumping puzzle that people found tedious, but if you were good and played it every week, you could just pull your whole team through. Like I remember just jumping through it by myself, but the problem with this one is you gotta like drag everybody through with you. You know, you can't even do it for everyone.
Yeah. Like one player can't go do it all and then just complete it for everybody.
Yep. Yeah. And once you've done it once, it's not like there's really anything there to feel accomplishment. You know.
Yeah.
So that's
like even like the Wrath jumping puzzles like were fun because like you're in this like cool environment and you're just like, oh, am I gonna make this, and everything is like you're like over like this perilous pit or whatever, but like you're kind of like doing it alone with friends. It's not like this like
the jumping puzzle
cooperative and timed means that you can't optimize it at all.
Right.
Yeah, Spire of Stars is jumping puzzle, and the preemptive, you know, Castellum event that they have a Castellum event, and they have like a jumping style puzzle, whatever. Those are much better indications of how I feel that Destiny needs to go in the future. And it's crazy to watch them come out with something like I never played King's Fall, but like the way you guys talk about it was amazing.
Yeah.
How they went from that to Eater of Worlds style, where you have to have at least 5 people all on the same page.
Yep. And it's not interesting.
And it's slow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not interesting. So
Like what was cool about like Vault of Glass was didn't even feel like a jumping puzzle. You're just like exploring these caverns, right? And there's like these huge pits that you're like falling through, and you're like, how is this even in a video game?
Yeah.
This is so huge and like cool, and like you're like exploring these things, and you can get lost in there. But in Eater, it's literally like, wow, I'm in this huge room. I don't get to explore any of it because I'm just jumping on these little pistons.
Yeah.
Like your actual playable space.
Right.
Yeah.
Little.
Yeah.
Right. Vault was especially that way because, like, if you went the wrong way or a different way, you were rewarded because there were actually chests hidden all throughout the raid. So,
on another positive note, GuardianCon raised $2.8 million for St. Jude's, which is pretty incredible, honestly.
Mother of St. Jude.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of a better charity that money could have gone to, honestly.
Yeah, right.
And it blew last year's revenue out of the water. So I think it's just going to keep going up every year. I mean, it'll be interesting to see where this goes.
Last year's was about a million, wasn't it?
I think it was 1.3.
Yeah.
At the end.
So more than double, which is great, you know. Everybody there seems super down to earth, except, I mean, like, obviously Ninja was could not be just walking around freely. He had security, like 5 security guards surrounding him at all times.
Yeah.
But like Cathalion even, and like some of the bigger streamers there, I saw them all just like walking around, shaking hands, talking with people. When they did their meet and greets, it got a little out of control. Like Dado had this line like wrapped around the freaking building trying to meet him.
That's so funny, dude.
And I find like I was trying to catch people like just walking around because I feel like that's a little more natural. If I wait in line to talk to somebody, I don't feel like that's like organic. It's like you get up there and then you're like, you have to ask for an autograph or something, you know, like, and I don't, that's not something I'm interested in doing, you know.
I've been to conventions where that's the case, where not only that, but you're spending money to do it.
Oof. So, yeah, I would not be comfortable with that.
You're in a line, you've spent, you know, $20 or $30 for an autograph, and you have maybe 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So, like, you can't even ask a meaningful question. You'd be like, hey, how's it going?
Exactly.
Can you sign this?
Yeah.
I'm signing here.
And that's the thing. Like, if I met Dado, I'd want to have like a conversation about something Destiny related, and you can't just like walk up and be like, "Hey, so let's talk about optimal DPS in this raid" or something like that. You know, that's awkward. So I avoided that kind of stuff. But you know, I met a lot of really cool people. I met most of the DCP crew, and like while we were at the pub and talked with them for like a few hours, which was cool because there was only 100 of us up there. I talked with Fran, Mirabella, CJ, and Destin Legary from IGN Fireteam chat. They were walking around, super down to earth guys, and that whole episode was really good. But yeah, so aside from that charity, I also did a charity event this week. I participated in the One More Light Part 2 charity event, which M. Harding has put together for the second year in a row. It's about suicide prevention and awareness, and during my 4-hour block I managed to raise $368 for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. It was a great time. I got to do a lot of really funny stuff. When we hit $250, I capped my frame rate to 30. I put it at 70 FOV and played with a controller, and I was like, man,
Destiny's meant to be played.
Yeah, it's still going on right now. One More Light is still going on. It's to raise awareness because of Chester Bennington, lead singer of Linkin Park, took his own life, and you know, so raise awareness for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. As of right now, you guys have all raised $18,000.
Yeah.
And now the goal has been lifted to 30,000. M. Harding was last night. I've been hosting you guys past every single time you guys have done it. And it's still going on. So there's still a list of people who are, and by the time you read it, if you see this on, on Friday, if it's uploaded to YouTube, you will, I believe it's still going on even then. It's going on to the 25th.
Harding raised $4,000 by himself last night.
Harding actually raised $5,400.
Wow.
Yeah, so he is like one of his stretch goals was to completely erase the game and his vault and everything, and that was at 5,000. So tomorrow, I guess tonight, he will be
starting over.
Yesterday, he'll be starting over completely, getting rid of everything from his vault and starting over fresh.
That's crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I could do escalation protocol again.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a big part of that, and I do want to have a shout out to Tim the Tap Man and his crew because he hosted him immediately when the one more light went live. So I mean,
that's awesome.
Huge shout out to, I think it was it Wits or Wits that hosted him, I want to say, because he's a partner as well, and then Tim the Chat Man and his community. So
sweet,
big shout out to you guys because you got like the whole, it's community events. So
yeah, for sure. But yeah, it was a super cool event to be a part of. We got some really interesting footage. I was doing incentives like every time somebody donated $1, I would get a melee kill before getting any other kind of kill. So like I couldn't use my guns. It made for like interesting like challenges in the Crucible to kind of switch things up. My favorite one was
where you jumped off the map.
Jumped off the map.
$5.
Jump off the map.
You jumped off the map.
I did a double sidearm loadout game, and then shout out to It's Only Michael for the most generous contribution of the night. For the last game, I did a throwing knife only game, and I got 7 kills with it, which was pretty incredible.
Hey.
So, but yeah, that's all I wanted to say about that. So just kind of preamble with that. But let's talk about some Destiny stuff. Did you guys see the Game Informer footage of the Lost Sectors? And then also,
no, I actually did not.
I put a link in the.
Not all of the Lost Sectors are changing.
Right. There's new Lost Sectors. Then they're called something else other than it's a something Lost Sector.
Outlaw Lost Sectors.
Outlaw Lost Sector. So there's footage of that in this Game Informer article I linked here, and as of yesterday, I didn't link it in here, but there's also footage of the new public event too in the Dreaming City, and man, that looks pretty cool.
I mean, I hate. This is like my one pessimistic thing. Like
Spoilers.
To me, like a public event like is not like a large piece of content update, especially the way they're treated in this game, and to like release like
talking about Lost Sectors.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about public event.
Yeah, because yesterday footage of the new public event came out, and it's they're calling it an end game public event, Huffy.
So it's like an escalation protocol thing, but it's made for 6 people, tuned for 6 people.
Just like, I mean, yeah, but like even escalation protocol is just like waves of things running at you in like on Mars.
I haven't seen that, but is that all it is?
Escalation protocol? No. I mean, I'm just saying that, like.
No, I've seen it. It's pretty cool. And they didn't show the heroic version, but they described it and said that like it'll take you into this shadow realm and be a completely different experience. So, cool. The mechanics are a little bit different than a normal public event. I don't know what the rewards are going to be like, but.
So first, the Lost Sectors. The Lost Sectors. There are 8. Outlaw Lost Sectors, and those have one boss in them that actually has mechanics to do,
which looks really cool. And like, you can't really solo it, right? It looks like you're gonna need a fire team.
All of them will be unique, and they're not intended for solo players.
Right.
That's good
to go in there. And they're all over the world. You will know where they're at, so it's not like they're basically
they're not lost.
Right. They're not lost. Go here, specifically here, and kill this outlaw. I guess there might be a couple, because like there's not 8 planets, but there are 8 outlaw Lost Sectors. So there's probably going to be doubling up on some of the planets, but basically small scale strikes for 3 players to go into.
Yeah, it's like little mini dungeons. It should take about 10 minutes from what they said. A lot more interesting than the Lost Sectors we have now. It seems like it's closer to what we thought Lost Sectors were going to be in the first place, which is great. Hopefully they keep expanding on it in the future, and I hope the loot is worth it. You know,
Yeah.
That's the big thing, right? Because we talked about this last night, and I know we'd probably bring it up here as well, Recked, about how, again, the big problem with Destiny is that the loot doesn't really matter.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's still a huge problem, and it's been a problem since Destiny 1.
Mm-hmm.
The loot hasn't really mattered a whole lot. I mean, we
Yep.
hate to keep beating that same drum, but it's like, if they can't seem to figure out where they want this game to land with how the loot is supposed to be meaningful, but at the same time,
They need to revamp loot entirely, I think. I really hope this reboot in Forsaken gives them an opportunity to do that. And like one of the downsides of bringing everything forward, I think, is that it's really going to limit that capability. So you take something like Midnight Coup. It's gonna be like, I mean, like Fatebringer was better than Midnight Coup, but it's gonna be hard for new gear to really top that. Especially stuff that you're getting at first. You're just gonna be infusing it into Midnight Coup. You know, like I don't really want to use Midnight Coup forever. I get that like it's a fan favorite, you want to bring it forward, but I think the upside of an MMO style system is you're forced to use the new stuff. And the old stuff you can keep,
well,
but you use it for retro things like
infusion doesn't really work. In World of Warcraft, the way like the 8.0 just released, so it's the pre-patch for the next expansion. And before in Legion, we had all of our artifacts was like a level up system,
right?
And they've done an item crunch now to where all the numbers are significantly lower. The power level that we had, or item level that we had, was 960, is now 240. I was 960 whatever too, but like now I'm doing like 3,000 damage per second, and I was doing like millions.
Right.
But the numbers just got too high, so they had to crunch that down. But what they've done with artifacts is it just says straight up, your artifact doesn't work anymore, and it just has stats on it. So like that could be something they move, like they phase that stuff out. That could be something they could easily look at and say, like, your Midnight Coup doesn't have outlaw anymore. It just doesn't. Deal with it.
Which would make it
like,
pointless to use.
Well, Midnight Coup isn't that good anymore.
Yeah.
But it's like now the new weapons have the stuff that you're looking for.
I mean, wouldn't that be the same
system
as just leaving it in the past then? You might as well just leave it.
We have I'm not really into like neutering the weapons. Like we have the light system for a reason. We can just like year one style not bring them forward into trial, like in-game PvP and in-game PvE.
That's what I'm advocating for. Like I'm not saying delete them. I'm saying you can use them in the old activities, but I don't think that they should be relevant in end-game stuff. I don't. You could even like allow infusion up to like the story cap or something like that if you want to, but
right. The alternative for Bungie is to make interesting perks, but that is to continue to make interesting perks over and over and over and over again.
But so here's the paradox though. Like I think when like they've done this before, and I think it's worked out well in the beginning. Like when the Taken King came out, they got rid of a lot of the old stuff. It made gameplay interesting, but the nostalgia in the community is so strong that people just start demanding the old stuff back like immediately, you know, and then they do it, you know, they just respond and say this is what the community wants. And I just don't think that's good. Like to constantly...
And then we complain that we just keep getting old stuff.
Right, exactly. I just wish that we could just leave that stuff, you know, in like 5 years, if you want to bring it back for like nostalgia's sake, that's fine. But we don't need to be like letting it go forever and ever and just be using the same stuff. Like once that Gjallarhorn comes back again, guys, it will, and you know people are just going to be using it, and it's going to be like 5 years into the game and people are still using the Gjallarhorn. I mean, come on, I want this game to evolve, not just be like the same regurgitated weapons like over and over.
If I was to load up what I had in Warlords of Draenor and what I have at the end of Legion, they would be completely different. And it's expansion to expansion. You do not have the same gear over the course of expansion to expansion in an MMO. You just don't.
Right.
So the way that other games and World of Warcraft does it is at the end of the expansion, they're like, you're so much more powerful because not because of your gear, but because of your class. So the class can do much more powerful things now. And then the stuff that you get in the next expansion will be synergistic to that.
Yeah.
And the stuff you have now isn't necessarily synergistic to it. You're more powerful because of your class and not because of your weapons. And then the stuff that you get in the next expansion is synergistic to your class. And it's always a revolving door. They keep doing that over and over again. They redesign the class, they launch the class, they launch the expansion. And so for like from now until Battle for Azeroth comes out, we have a period of time where we're powerful because of our class, not because of our gear. And then in Battle for Azeroth, it'll be the chase to get the gear that is synergistic with our abilities.
So Godin's making a good point in chat. He's saying that they don't actually have enough guns to not bring them forward, because weapon diversity would be worse if they just left that stuff behind and we had a smaller pool. I agree, but I do think that that is more of like an archetype problem than it is so much like bringing that stuff forward. Like, they can bring that stuff forward, but 90% of those weapons aren't unique anyway. Like, in Forsaken, they're going to bring a whole new class of weapons that are almost identical, except like with different skins to what we have now. I mean, you'll have random rules, which will spice things up a little bit, but as far as like the rate of fire and impact and the reload speed and the handling speed, it's all going to be similar to weapons we have now. It can't vary that much because of the constraints they've set for themselves. So I think that is the bigger problem, because that is what changes gameplay.
There are only a few guns that are good.
Right.
And what's been really weird is the majority of guns that have come out in both Curse of Osiris and Warmind have all been archetypes that no one uses for any.
Right.
Like, it's just not like, so with Warmind, we got some new like good 750 SMGs. That's like one thing that like people were not using before Warmind. Like now, like 750 SMGs are the meta like in Crucible, because like they play really good, and the Huckleberry feels really great in strikes for like mowing through mobs. Like, nice, we have like something new to use, but like as far as like hand cannons, like 140s still and 150s are still like incredible, yet there's like 17 new 110s. Like every time a faction rally or an Iron Banner comes around, it's like, here's a really slow shitty hand cannon.
Right, but so even if like another 150 comes out, which is my favorite archetype, it has to slightly edge out the Dire Promise in order for me to care about it in some way, you know. So it's probably going to be perk related, because the Dire Promise's perks are like a little vanilla, but most of the time, like you take like something like the Midnight Coup, and you're like, for PvE, is there going to be a perk combination that's even better than that for a 150? Probably not. Like, the only thing you can hope for is that we'll have 2 perks instead of 1, or 3 if you count the frame. So that's the only hope, is that Forsaken weapons will have an extra perk slot, but we just don't know yet.
Yeah.
About that.
I mean, you're literally just not, unless weapons are gated and don't carry over to in-game activities because of light level, you are just not going to get a better 140 archetype hand cannon than a better Devils.
Yeah.
Like, you're just not.
If they keep the weapon system, like, not the slot system, but the actual weapon system with the perks the way that it is, then there's probably only going to be 3 or 4 standout weapons like that come with the new expansion, which would be a shame. So I really hope that there is more perks and new perks. You know, new perks is important too, because we've been using the same perks for way too long. To diversify gameplay. Yeah. So let's move on to the Solstice, though. The Solstice of Heroes, the Year 1 triumphs. They are starting on July 31st, and it'll be interesting. We've talked about this before, but if you haven't started the Year 1 triumphs, you can check them on Bungie.net, which is a shame that it's not in-game. something we had in Destiny 1 that we don't have anymore, which sucks. But you can start on that and make progress with everything except the Solstice of Heroes objectives. So you want to get started on that if you care about the emblems and the sparrows and the t-shirt.
Yeah. The Solstice of Heroes, so there's like this cool like armor, like upgradable armor set that's coming for each class.
Yes.
Which is really like man, the Titan set.
It's a reskin of the original armors, right? Like they.
Yeah, but it's like the same thing they did like in Age of Triumph, where they like redesigned those.
I was gonna just say that like it's a reskin of the original armor, but then the first one is, but then as you're upgrading it, it becomes like I'm amazing because it's way more flashy.
Yeah. Except for the fact that the Hunter set looks like poopy butts. Just like it always does.
The chest piece is all bad.
It's why does every class get cool looking armor except for the Hunter? You're like a thief. You got like a cape thing. Like it should look so cool.
I think the cape.
Puffy, what you're saying is you don't want to tie a purple sash around your chest and then have a giant rope that covers like everything cool about the chest.
Here, let me show this.
That chest piece is cool looking.
I'll show this on screen for our video watch.
It doesn't match the rest of the armor. And why is the
not
helmet
covering
so
the bits
wonky?
that matter? You're just not covering the bits that matter at all.
Here it is, guys, for all of our
so dumb
people watching on. So here's the new ones.
It looks so silly. Look at how cool the Titan set looks.
Yeah.
This is how it's always been, dude.
So the geometry is the same as the old stuff. And I gotta say, I liked that original Hunter set, except for the fact that the boots are super pointy. I don't know why they went with pointy boots.
And the chest is like a polygon. Why is the chest a polygon? And the cape has scales on it. Like, why would you ruin that cool cape with scales?
So, but yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't know, like
it'll be interesting. He says
this is so important that Hunter armor starts to look better.
There's another thing that's gonna make you mad, Huffy. There's another piece of this that's gonna make you mad. If you want to be 400, you have to wear that armor. You can't infuse it into anything.
I've never given a damn about light level, so
you need to get mad about this. Go.
I don't. Listen. If it looked cool, I would be mad about it, but it doesn't.
Yeah. So like it starts. It looks crappy, like it's a burned out version of the one we had, like the Fermius.
Yeah.
And then it looks cooler. Again, it's like white. I've cleaned it up a little bit, and now I've covered up all the cool bits about it. Like the entire thing, like just take the Titan chest just for a second, and you see like the cool sash that's kind of wrapped around him. I even think that covers up some of the cool things. Like his shoulders are amazing. The leg pieces are amazing for the Hunter. Even for the Hunter, the shoulder is really good too. But then you cover up all that cool detail with a stupid purple sash for no reason.
So I'm going to jump around a little bit here just because this goes into what I was just talking about. So that armor is the only 400 armor that'll be in the game.
Right.
You have to get it from Solstice, and the only weapons you can get in the game that'll be 400 are from the Prestige raid layers. You can only infuse them into exotics if you want it to stay 400. You cannot infuse them into any other regular legendary armor or weapons. They said that the reason for this is because it's intended to be trophies for players who want to show their accomplishments. But here's the thing about it. I'm like, okay with that justification, kind of, but leading up to this, they literally didn't say anything about this at all. So there's people who just wasted their 400 stuff, infusing it into something and going, why is this 385 still for my Better Devils?
It's happened, yeah.
Upgrade my Better Devils.
Infuse it because they have clarified it, but they didn't do it fast enough like before we had the 400 stuff. Legendaries have an infusion cap of 385, but exotics do not. You can infuse it into exotics that will raise it to 400, but you cannot infuse it into exotics, even its own exotic. So in other words, if you get two 400s, the 400 power level engram thing that you get, like let's say it's a Midnight Coup, that is your new Midnight Coup. That is 400. Your other Midnight Coup, not 400. Even that 400 Midnight Coup, though, still has a base infusion cap of 380.
And the other piece of it that they put in there was that if you didn't buy Warmind, you still have access to the Prestige Eater of Worlds, obviously, and they didn't want you to be able to infuse above 335. So, I mean,
but yet they give you a 400 weapon at the end.
Right.
They do, yeah. You get a 400 weapon for completing the Eater of Worlds. It doesn't make any sense.
But you'll be locked out of using the weapon. You can't put it on.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, how would you even do the prestige raid anyway at 335?
You can do it.
Yeah.
Because the Eater of Worlds is 330 and it's capped at 330. So if you have 330, then you'll be fine. You don't do any more damage. This is the problem that we talked about last night, where they have the damage caps in the raids. So you only can do this amount of damage, and no matter if you're 400 light level, you're still going to do the same damage that you did before.
This is just an example of Bungie struggling with their monetization model. I think they didn't want to lock players out of the activity because it is technically content they paid for to do the Prestige Eater, even though it's taken them this long to put it out. But they didn't want to let them get up to the current light level, so it's really confusing, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean,
they'll be able to use it in Forsaken if they buy Forsaken.
Yeah,
but they'll have to buy Warmind to buy Forsaken.
Yep.
It's just, it's a sticky situation because it just took the dev team so long to give us what they said that we were going to get along. Like, everything would have been fine if.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, it is the preferred version, but there's a couple of things like that are going to make it just bonkers. So one of the things that are changing in the Prestige Eater Worlds and Prestige Leviathan right now is Arsenal. So this week is a pulse rifle for your kinetic, an SMG for your energy, and the grenade launcher for your heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And the other modifier is that your weapon only has enough for one clip, and no other weapon has. So you have 0-0, and you start with a pulse rifle that has, let's say, 30. You shoot that 30, it doesn't have anything else. You don't reload it.
Yeah.
You go to your energy weapon that now has a full clip, and you shoot your energy weapon, your SMG, full out, and then your grenade launcher has a full clip. That's cool, but one of the I guess leaked, because Destiny Item Manager found more code in the game that leaked one of like let's say it's next week.
Data
Marksman.
mining.
Yeah, they data mined Marksman, which is crits do twice the damage, 2x damage, and body shots do half.
Okay.
So that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like, that's gonna be really cool.
Well,
and I don't know, like,
that's gonna be way more fun than having to use my grenade launcher,
or not being able to jump or whatever. But,
yeah, there's a slight disconnect between some of these things are like way cooler, and then some of them are just like, oh.
Before we move on to the strikes and stuff like that, though, I wanted to say, just for anybody who hasn't bought the game or the expansions, it is on sale right now. The base game and the 2 expansions for $20, so that's not too bad. If you're thinking about buying Forsaken, I'm sure there'll be a package with Forsaken.
There will, I'm sure there will.
But it'll probably be $100, you know.
At the checkout page, just type in Rectum.
Yeah.
Yeah, his affiliate code is linked down below.
Yeah.
So before we get to the strikes, I want to talk about bounties for a second. I was pretty excited for this, and man, are they disappointing. So,
they're the exact same thing they were. It's like
not exactly. Now we get tokens for them, which are completely useless to me. Like, I'm already not turning in tokens, and they're giving me more tokens.
Yeah, yes. I'd rather tokens just be gone from the game. I mean, in the original, you were just getting like
experience
yeah, which you're getting rep now. But I would honestly just like get experience. Like, rep mattered then.
Right.
No, rep doesn't. Rep doesn't even
Well,
exist.
except, I mean, rep exists, except now there's an extra step. It used to just be the bounty you turned in and went straight into your rep. Now it's you turn in the bounty, you get tokens that you have to turn in for rep. So it's just I have to go to the tower and do more work. Like,
can we just eliminate tokens and just get rep for completing a Crucible match?
Yeah, exactly.
I just have reputation.
Right, then I wouldn't be able to, like, so number one, I don't know what they're going to do in Forsaken, but I have such an imbalanced economy that if they haven't changed something, I'm literally just going to get everything at the beginning of the game. I have 5,000 Crucible tokens. I have like 15,000 weapon parts. I'm going to turn all this crap in and get everything I possibly can, like right off the bat.
Not to mention, you're already kind of dismantling all the weapons you know you're not going to use at the start of Forsaken.
Yep.
Or even use now. So it's like you're emptying out your vault for extra tokens to basically be filled up so that you won't have to worry about finding any weapons when the new expansion does launch.
Right. It's really stupid. So, guys, I like that you tried something with bounties, bringing them back. Go back to the drawing board. This is not really... so the other thing, what do you guys think about the daily expiration on them? Do you care?
Yeah, that doesn't matter. Like,
I'm not going to pick them up anyway.
After the stream last night, I did some PvP with Recked, and, you know, I started my bounties late. I was like 5 games in. I was like, oh, I'll just pick them up, and I completed them in like 2 games. So
yeah,
and all they gave me was tokens
and glimmer.
So I'm not going to pick them up.
Yeah.
If it was experience, if I got experience towards the Crucible that just went there, and then
something else,
and then like that experience unlocked tiers of things that I could purchase.
Yeah.
I would
Valor,
be like,
maybe give you Valor or competitive. Like it gave you competitive rank.
Yeah.
That would be cool. Anything that doesn't require me to lug around a sack full of shit and then go like spend 20 minutes turning in tokens.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Tokens, and then they turn them in for the more crap that you can already get.
The more crap.
But so aside from the
weapon parts to take to Banshee.
So aside from the token system sucking, we've talked about that, but
it's so bad.
But with the bounty system, if they could get it working in a way that you like, do you like them expiring in 24 hours, or would you rather they just sit in your inventory like Destiny 1?
Either way, I really don't
it doesn't matter. That's not the real issue with the bounties. The real issue
on Fireteam chat, they were pretty pissed about that. They said they took like a poll, almost. I mean, it was definitely a biased poll. They said like, why is it going to disappear after 24 hours? Raise your hand if you like this system, and like nobody did, you know. But
of course.
so
yeah, well, everyone's indifferent to it because nobody cares.
Right. So I don't really care about that, but I think that I see what they're trying to do. They just don't want the clutter of like all these bounties stacking up, which...
But they'd rather have the clutter of the...
it doesn't matter, though, because like you said last night, Exo, you have 50 slots for it. It's like, why do you have 50 slots for it when you can only have 10 bounties and they expire in 24 hours?
You only have that, and then you don't have enough for your consumables, your shaders, and your other thing. Like, you don't have enough of those, but you have so much more of that stuff.
Right.
Yeah, let me like pull some shaders into my bounty.
They only had enough memory to put in 1 slot for this. Then we should have those reattributed to the other stuff.
So we've talked about these new exotic masterworks before. I'm not going to go in depth with them, but I just did want to mention something, and I didn't like go digging back through TWABs to find this yet. But don't you guys remember something about like they were going to do exotic armor masterworks? Wasn't that supposed to be in July? Like armor masterworks and I remember what happened with that? Where did that go?
I don't know. It disappeared. Like armor masterwork. That's huge.
Yeah.
Like you're losing 3% of your survivability just because, or 5% now. Just because you want to use an exotic.
It's and they were going to have catalysts for it to make it do something even different. Like,
yeah, I definitely remember that.
Yeah,
I absolutely remember that. The thing about,
guess that's not coming until Forsaken now, guys.
Yeah, so maybe Forsaken. The exact masterworks that they have come out are cool. They got the sleeper catalyst, which I guess gives you more ammo and reduces the trigger pull.
Did you see what you have to do for it? Like after you unlock it, you have to have all 3 of the escalation protocol weapons, and you have to get 1,000 kills with each.
That's insane.
I think it's 500.
I don't know. The video I watched this morning about it said it was 1,000, but you could be right. I haven't like double source verified
the
that.
Telesto, which is, I'll get to that, because it's stupid. It 7 in the magazine. It's all it does. It doesn't do anything else. Just 7 in the magazine. You get it, and you go to Brother Vance, and you say, "Hi, Brother Vance," and Brother Vance says, "Hey, I want you to buy this thing that costs 100 glimmer," and then you walk over to the forge and you forge it, and you're done.
Wow.
And then there's worst one, right? The Acrius, also 7 in the magazine, but let's go ahead and give that one
faster reload too.
Faster reload and faster shot time.
Faster rate of fire?
Yeah, so like rate of fire. And
you're telling me
time.
the Acrius fires faster with the catalyst?
It fires a lot faster. Well, like, yeah, because like the time it takes you to get to your next shot is faster. So yeah, so it's double in the magazine. So it's four in the magazine.
I don't know. There's no way. I don't think they increased rate of fire.
They should have been. Yeah, I believe they did.
What?
Yeah, have you not seen the Acrius, the new Acrius?
I knew that it increases mag size and reload speed. I have not heard anything about rate of fire. That would be insane, DPS wise.
That would be, dude. Can you imagine running at somebody in the Crucible with a full
bang,
auto
bang.
Acrius?
It's not full auto. It's just faster.
Yeah.
It is definitely faster. It's definitely not full auto though.
I was hoping that it would increase the ADS speed, because that is like the worst part about the weapon. But you know, it is a nice quality of life change.
There's 6 in the magazine. 6, by the way.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm just gonna use my boop cannon.
Yeah, because it's a million times more broken.
Yep. There is a part, like the only thing I wanted to mention about Exotic Masterworks that was mentioned on Twitter, was that Sleeper Catalyst, they're aware, or they're not aware. They've been made aware that the Sleeper Catalyst is far more rare than the other 2.
Yeah.
But they have seen it drop in the wild, and I've seen it in our couple of our raids as well. So cool. It does exist, but people have been complaining
the fabled
that they have
Sleeper
not seen it at all.
Catalyst.
Yeah, so the Sleeper Catalyst is not that common, but it does drop.
The last thing there that I wanted to mention is if you guys don't have all your escalation protocol weapons yet, which I don't, I only have one of them. It's easier now because it increases your chance with each clear. So I'm gonna go back and get.
Every boss you kill increases. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back and get that SMG and probably the sniper.
SMG is so nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, the other thing is you got to get the sniper and the SMG, because if you get the Sleeper Catalyst from the thing, you're gonna have to have kills with it. So.
Yeah. Exactly. That's the only reason I would really want the sniper, because I don't really care about it. So. You already.
It's a weird catalyst, though.
You already talked about the strikes a little bit. They retuned 3 of the major modifiers: Blackout, Glass, and Grounded. All these modifiers suck. I think they should have just taken them out and made something different. Let me tell you, Grounded is the worst. Most from a game design perspective, I don't know what the hell you're thinking. This is Destiny, a game about mobility and like jumping through the air and stuff, and you're being like, "Hey, Guardians, don't jump." I don't like it at all. Just like they made it like
they've redone it because they said that they were aware that you were out of the thing where you couldn't jump, and like you were just in the air,
right,
and you would just die.
Yeah, and I don't like it. I don't like it even though they've made it less punishing. I still think it's just bad mechanic fundamentally, and I avoid it at all costs. I don't even want to play an activity with that on if I don't have to, you know?
Yeah.
So I think they could do better than that. Just go back to the drawing board. I mean, if you have any ideas for like mechanics you'd want to see, you can talk about that for a second, but...
Well, the only thing I wanted to mention about strikes, really, I mean, was that there was additional clarification on Reddit about the Nightfall weapons. They are score dependent. The time doesn't matter at all. So whenever
I've gotten it with a score of 0, dude. Like,
the new drop rate
They
increased
changed it.
drop rate is based on score threshold.
Okay.
So
It was supposed to be less.
Yeah, that's what they said before.
well, that's what it was supposed to be. Now I guess it is.
They lied. You lie.
But
all those normal nightfalls.
Somebody mentioned that we should it should work in the same way that escalation protocol weapons now work, and it seems like Cosmo at least agrees.
So now we got to talk about the interesting stuff, the sandbox changes that happen in the Crucible. These exotic changes. There's one that sticks out.
It's the Stompies.
Oh no, but we can talk about the Stompies first if you want.
No, it's fine.
No. I mean, we can burn through those really like quickly. You know, like I don't even think it's necessary to really talk about the Stompies. I thought they were going to add mobility to triple jump. They added height instead.
Right.
Which made me sad, but I guess from a PvE perspective, that's very nice for raids and like jumping puzzles. That's cool.
Yeah.
Strafe jump is slightly better. The feedback fences are the worst thing that's ever been put into a game.
The most overpowered thing.
Yeah.
What you're trying to say is nerf the Wormhusk helm. I hear what you're trying to say.
So for our video watchers here, I'm just gonna throw a quick video on the screen of me last night getting a triple kill with
how much effort did you put into this triple?
I slid into a group of enemies and they all died.
Oh, okay.
So basically, what you're watching here, I'm gonna narrate it. All right, so I'm trying to narrate it. So he's gonna run up here.
Let me slow it down. I'll slow it down.
He's gonna get punched, and 3 people are going to immediately die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here it is in slow motion, so you guys can see. I slide into the group. I start shooting this guy with an SMG. I melee the other guy. The other guy melees me, and then 3 people die.
Yeah, here it comes, right here. All right, so here we go. Oh, here comes the punch.
And all I can say is they're actually lucky that I didn't kill the guy with my melee, because then I would have gotten an overshield, and I wouldn't have even died to the 3rd guy, who also got screwed over, or the 4th guy.
So,
the
like,
4th
if
guy.
This person was like, if you didn't punch him and he just punched you, he might have died, and he ended up dying to that thing.
Right. I traded with him, though. I wouldn't have traded if I had an overshield.
Why you actually didn't get the kill, though, is because you had a teammate there that took the final shot. You still would have killed him.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's really busted.
Those are busted, especially with Sentinel.
Yeah.
Sentinel is like it just feels a little broke right now.
I've been saying
feel bad.
Yeah.
Feedback fences feel like an amplification of that already bad problem.
I've been saying I'm not so much playing the Sentinel class as I'm just along for the ride, and the Sentinel class is getting kills for me. You know.
Yeah.
Someone
literally, I've been playing with Recked a little Crucible, and like I'm over here sweating my ass off, and Recked is just running around laughing maniacally, and like just the kill feed. Like I'm over here like dropping 33 kill games like on Hunter, like. You know, like running around with my better devils, you know, like trying to get my high efficiencies. And Recked is like dropping like 46. Like, dude, it's like most of them with the feedback.
Yeah.
Dude, Huffy's watching me and he's like, you just ran into a group of enemies and they all like died. How are you still alive right now? I'm like, it's the feedback fence, man. And I got an overshield too. What do you know?
So mad, dude.
Yeah.
I'm like disengaging from like situations, like, you know, trying to rotate the map, and Recked is like, oh, I'm just gonna stand here and people.
It doesn't even matter if I
dies.
just run in there and just see what happens.
Well, I mean,
what's the worst that could happen?
Even like the feedback fence aside, let me just talk about the Sentinel class alone. Like every time I get a melee kill, I get all my health back. An overshield, and everyone who's standing near me gets that too. I mean, how, like, you want to complain about the Wormhusk crown? That is way worse, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've been on the other end of that, where you, like, come around a corner, and you're like, oh, let me help my teammate, and he dies to a melee, and then you're like, there's 3 people with overshields. Run away! Yeah. You know? So, I mean, that's bad. And then, on top of that, just, like, the base movement with the glide of the Titan, if somebody pops, like, their Arc Strider right in front of me, I can just spin around and glide away. Like, they can't catch up with me. So, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that's pretty much all I have to say about that. Oh, yeah, Karnstein's armlets. I haven't tested them, but I've watched some videos on them, and I've seen a couple people in the Crucible using them. They actually seem pretty good. What it does is, if you get a melee kill, it gives you full health instantly, and then it gives you 6 seconds of uninterrupted healing. Like, even if somebody shoots you, it keeps healing you persistently for 6 seconds.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So that's really good now, especially in PvE. But those are the 3 main exotics that got buffed. And I felt the same way as Huffy did. When I tested the Stompies, I was hoping for Bones of Ao so I could get the directional control to be able to use triple jump and move in different directions and juke people out, and you just can't do that, which is a shame.
I was disappointed that Huffy was complaining about them because they actually and I'm not gonna try to fight with you. They are really good. Like, they do make a difference. And I was talking to Recked earlier. We all agree that they make a huge difference in the double jump, and the high jump is much higher. The triple jump is much higher, and the strafe jump is higher as well. Like, they're all higher. But height is the only advantage. The problem
and the initial burst speed is faster.
Yep. The problem for me is that the worm husk crown is better as an exotic to use.
Yeah.
And I'm still using right now the Stompies on my hunter just to see if it's any different.
And in PvE, the Ophidian, I can't remember the name of the boots.
The young Amkar spine.
No, the boots.
The Orpheus.
Orpheus rigs. Yeah, the Orpheus rigs. I mean, if you're playing Night Stalker, you're not going to take it over those, and if you're playing Golden Gun, you're going to take Celestial Nighthawk. So you're just never going to use Stompies.
You gotta.
They gotta do something. They gotta
the
do
double throwing knife chest.
No, the
Radiant Flux.
Yeah.
Yeah, Raid Flux. Yeah, that's what I use for the raid for the Prestige Spire when I did it the first time on my hunter.
When Exo carried me, he's like, "You got a Raiden," and we're all just bashing the crap out of the guy with Raiden Flux.
That's actually how we killed him our first time in Prestige. We killed him with the hunter. And I think every group I've been in so far for the Prestige Spire Stars is exactly that same way still.
That's awesome.
Because nobody wants to shoot him with a grenade launcher. Go figure.
So a couple things about the Crucible playlist updates and rank updates. I just wanted to mention, so 6v6 is quick play now. I have some mixed feelings on that. Like, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Like, Iron Banner last week sucked, and I refused to play it. It hasn't been as bad this week in quick play. I don't know if they did something to the matchmaking process or what's different about it, but it feels a little bit better. Every once in a while you match a team that's really, really annoying, just laning with Gravitons and Vigilance, which makes it feel bad. But, it's okay. I feel like it's chaotic enough. I'm enjoying it for now. We'll see what happens as the player population dies down again before Forsaken. And the other thing is, I haven't tried it, but in competitive, it matches you based on rank now. And sometimes during hours, you won't be able to find someone within your rank, so the matchmaking parameters will expand, and they've confirmed that so that you can at least find a game. What I would like to push back and say is, if it does expand outside your range and you are on the lower end of the spectrum, you should get more points for winning that game than you normally would, and 100%. you should take less of a loss if you do lose that game, or maybe none at all, depending how big the discrepancy is. But that is not in the game right now.
I think like an SR system where you are gaining or losing experience based on your opponent's abilities. Not just whether you win or lose.
Right. Yeah, it can't just be. I mean, that may be weird with the streak system, but they could just ditch that streak system for all I care.
I don't care about it.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Because all that promotes is you being like, I am not playing competitive without my set team ever.
Yeah.
That's what people do with that
Yep.
face too.
That's the face.
When when you told me that I was gonna hate Supremacy going out of the playlist, the only thing I have to say is I actually kind of like it.
Yeah.
The reason why is because if I like Supremacy, so I can go into a Supremacy game now and play just Supremacy, which is kind of
That's
nice. You know, I can't play it, you know, more than 2 or 3 games in a row of Supremacy without wanting to throw my controller, and I don't even use a controller.
Sounds like a good game mode.
You want to just eat on your keyboard if you play too much.
No, I have the controller right here, the Elite controller. It's still plugged in. I just don't use it. I just want to throw that. It makes me want to throw that. Just throw it. Yeah, just throw it.
Check it.
Yeah.
I think it's a good change too, because now I never have to play it again. So
Michael made a mention about the Lucky Raspberries. I used to use the Lucky Raspberry exclusively in the Crucible for
Destiny 1.
Destiny 2.
Oh.
It was really good at first.
Just like, yeah, so like before this patch, that was the exotic, like before the Wormhusk was like, oh, you got to use the Wormhusk. That's the exotic I used because I could get my super back. I thought it was really powerful. The only reason why I haven't tried it yet is because I've been using the Wormhusk and the Stompies now because, you know,
at the same time.
I haven't had time to try the Lucky Raspberry, but I thought it was pretty good before.
You know what you need, Exo? You need a macro where when you dodge roll, it equips the helmet simultaneously so that you get your that
so
back
like before I hit the button,
and when you jump it equips the Stompies to give you that bonus, and then when you throw a grenade it equips the Lucky Raspberry, so it's going to swap them out in real time.
I'm sure there's a dim macro, right?
Would that get me banned?
You couldn't do it because when you're
in a game you can't use dim, but
you can't dim in game.
Yeah.
In Mac.
You can't equip things.
But I mean, can you equip things though?
No.
It would have to. So literally.
Well, you'd have to open your menu. It would have to open your menu, so it would slow down the process.
It would have to center your mouse and then like pull your mouse to
like
a specified part of your inventory, which is basically the same as an aimbot. So yeah, you get.
But like the macro thing is an interesting topic because like I know you're like really passionate against the Titan skating. I find it annoying when I pop my super for sure, but it seems like the Titan skating is pretty much endorsed by Bungie at this point. I mean, there's really prominent streamers who do it in the Crucible. Bungie has said they're not trying to ruin the fun factor of it, and it seems like that's allowed. So where can they possibly draw the line with macros if they're going to allow that, you know?
I don't mind it. I mean, I think that scroll wheel Titan skating is not bad.
No, it's bad. It's wrong. You shouldn't do it. You're wrong for thinking that it's not wrong.
I love it.
It's not fun. It doesn't make it fun for someone who isn't a Titan. And the people who do it should be banned.
Wow. Really?
Wow.
Why do you feel so strong?
EXO is very draconian, guys.
I'm so sad.
I couldn't even try it out because I'm not changing my mouse wheel. I use it to change weapons, and that's going to be the case forever. And I wasn't going to look into how to make a macro, so.
I feel like maybe in 2 weeks' time, EXO is going to be like speed running like prestige, like stars.
In PvE, it's use it to your heart's content, and like that's the opposite. I have the opposite feeling on PvE and PvP. PvE, I'm like, hey man, you know, if it gives you an advantage over somebody else, if you're like going to world's first, and you're chasing after that world's first, you know, like do it. But you know what's funny? No one who actually is going for world's first will actually use that. Redeem specifically takes it off of their keyboards when they're going for world's first, because they know that the community,
because they got so much shit for the Wardcliff glitch, right?
that they would have some sort of like backlash against their world first for it, and Bungie themselves would be like, oh, great work, guys, but like the community would just frown on that. And I just think like we need to have, as a community, we need to approach Bungie and say, you know what, no, you are wrong. These are fun, but it's bad fun.
But
I
I don't think you're gonna find that much support for that sentiment, to be honest. I mean, I'm very impartial to it. The only time
controversial opinion.
Report
yourself.
It really.
Seven, thank you for reporting yourself.
Yeah, it really it irks me when I pop an Arc Strider and they spin and then like take off. I'm like, are you kidding me? But other than that, and people cheating with it, like having the lion rampants on and using pixel bots to aim at me from the air, that pisses me off. But when people go through the middle of Midtown and like glide right past me, I'm like, whatever, dude, keep going. But,
Yeah.
Yep.
So I don't think you'll find that many people who are like, we need to put this to a stop.
Davey's saying you can do that without macros, though, what you're doing. So
what?
Like you can spin without macros.
Yeah, you can use the mouse wheel. And that's what Seven said she does.
Right.
But yeah, that's all I have on that. We already talked about the prestige raids and the 400 level power. We kind of talked about that earlier.
We actually already covered this. I was like, what? Why is it in here?
Yeah. The world's first already happened.
Hold on.
What's
the
up?
bolded part you have here,
Yeah.
non-prestige raid layer legendary weapons will be capped at 380 power when infused.
Right.
Let me repeat that. Non-prestige raid layer legendary weapons will be capped at 385 power when infused.
Mhm.
That's what they said, right?
Yep.
Okay, that's false.
Okay, so you can infuse your Midnight Coup that you already have?
No.
Oh.
No. All legendary weapons, including the ones you get on prestige raid layer,
Are capped.
including the ones that are at 400, are capped at 400. Are capped at 385 when infused.
Right.
So they can only drop at 400, like
They only drop at 400, and there is no infusing to. So
Except
if you get a
exotics. You
conspirator-
can do it to exotics. That's it.
Right. That's why I said legendaries. All exotics don't have that cap.
The one, I kind of get where they're going with this, but one thing that really kind of pisses me off is, like, if I have a Midnight Coup with a lot of kills on the kill counter, and I want to infuse into a Midnight Coup, what the hell? Like,
right.
it's the
If
same
you get
weapon.
I have 30,000 kills or something like that with my Midnight Coup.
Yeah.
And if a 400 one drops, I will just as quickly just go, oh, well, I don't even care about that 385 anymore.
Yeah.
That number doesn't mean anything.
Right.
So stupid.
So that's kind of a bummer.
Yep. Oh well.
Yeah. All right. So last couple things here. Deej and Cosmo said they're going to be answering questions from the community. Here's a Twitter link where you can send them your questions that they can answer in future TWABs and streams. There's going to be a couple of Bungie streams coming up, I'm guessing, leading up to Forsaken, probably in August if I had to take a guess.
Yeah, they don't want to do 3 weeks, I'm guessing. But.
Right. So if you have anything you're curious about, that's how you ask them. I want to know about Time to Kill. I think almost everybody wants to know about Time to Kill, so they better answer that question at the very least.
I want to know more about the Dreaming City.
I don't. I want to discover things about the Dreaming City. I don't want spoilers for content, like already the game
I'm not
informer.
talking about the actual city itself. I'm talking about like mechanics and like how is the six man going to work? Is there ways for us to go from the raid to the raid layer? Is it one cohesive place? Will the end of the raid basically take us back to the Dreaming City where we can then turn in the quests that we've had for the Dreaming City? Like, I want to know mechanic stuff like that. I don't want to find that stuff out and be like, oh, we thought it, like, you could do a raid layer and then go to the raid and then go to the raid the second raid layer, but that's not the case. And I want Bungie to be aware that that's what we're expecting, and if it's not, I need to know.
Okay.
Yeah. I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
And I would ask them, like, if, just for updates on the Destiny Battle Royale. I mean, if they're not adding a Battle Royale for
it could work. I'm telling you, right, Huffy? Exactly. Like,
Either
just
that or
because
fair racing.
everybody has battle royale, like Bungie could do a really good battle royale.
I mean, they actually could. Can you imagine like dropping down into like a large scale Crucible map and like last person alive? Like that would be actually really fun.
Yeah, I can imagine uninstalling it from my hard drive. No problem. So the last thing I wanted to mention, the prismatic matrix has been taken out of the game. Apparently, they didn't like.
Oh, drat.
Well, I wanted to mention this because they brought it up on Fireteam chat, and they were pretty mad about it. They said like, "Hey, this was a cool thing, you know. What, like, did anybody not like it?" And of course, like the stacked poll, you know, like everybody agreed with them again. But I was the one person who pushed back against this. It's not that I'm not a fan of giving away free stuff from Eververse. That's fine. That's cool that they're doing that. But this is an overly complicated system. I've said it a million times. Just make Eververse sell the stuff straight up for a fixed amount of bright dust and or silver. You know, like
that alone could fix. That alone would change it so that it would move to an Overwatch system. Everyone has said now that we've had the time to reflect on the crappy system of Eververse. I do have another mention about Eververse though at the end of what I'm about to say.
Okay.
But everybody has reflected and said that TESS is a terrible system. The prismatic system was overly complicated, and if they would just sell it for bright dust, they would move it towards the system that Overwatch has, in which you still get those things that drop every once in a while, and they could give you what you're looking for, but if you don't get what you're looking for, you can always buy it with a currency that you get with every little piece of these things. So you could go and buy everything with bright dust, and that would immediately make it so much better.
Yeah.
They wouldn't need the prismatic matrix in there.
So as we're
the thing I wanted to mention about that,
okay,
let me see if I can find it, was tests. Yeah. So apparently, and this is, I haven't noticed it myself, but guess what, guys? Tess has a bug. She has not, since the release of Warmind, sold any Warmind or Curse of Osiris shaders since Warmind has launched. And they're looking into why that's happened, but that's happened.
Yeah, that is pretty weird. I mean, all I want is like a whole bunch of
Mars Sunset.
What's it called? Midnight
Midnight Talents.
No, the one that is like blue and
that's
black and silver.
It's amazing.
Well,
it's blue and white.
So if you guys have any questions, throw them in chat as we're wrapping up here. I don't have a ton of time left, but
we'll
get
gotta go.
Okay. But I just wanted to wrap up and say we are looking for guests on the podcast in the future. If you have anybody you'd like to suggest, throw them in the think tank on my Discord. If you have anybody who you'd think be interested on coming on Guardian.
Let's talk to Mariah Carey.
There you go.
Leave comments down below on the YouTube video if you guys are watching this Friday.
Rafi's saying there's a secret mission on IO. Have you guys heard about that?
Somebody said it has to do with the sleeper, not the sleeper,
the
but
black spindle.
This black spindle, yeah.
Huh. Well, I'd love to check that out. I'm gonna have to look into that. I'll get back to you, Rafi.
Why does Bungie only care about DLC and income instead of game fixes?
Well, they have to make money, but I mean, it does look bad sometimes.
Yeah, the fixes being in the DLCs isn't necessarily a good sign for them. Like, feels like this entire, well, it's like a attrition of, like, you bought the game and so now the game didn't have anything, so now you feel like you're owed something. So when they say, "Oh, we'd like you to buy the fix for this game, but it's $20," and it just gets a bad taste in your mouth, you know, as you go, and it's like, well, why do I want to get invested in year 2 then, if this is what year 1 was? You know, any problems that the game has in year 1 wasn't fixed until we bought the DLC, and you put more money into the game essentially.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, guys. I think we'll wrap it up there. It's been a good episode. I'm Recked. Thanks everybody for being here. I'll put the description below a link to our Twitch and Twitter handles and stuff like that.
All the love.
Yeah. We're all there.
Peace.
Keep it real.